You're listening to Product-Led Revenue, brought to you by Correlated. In each episode, you'll hear first-hand advice and tactics from SaaS, sales, and revenue leaders about using product signals to drive expansion and revenue growth. Let's jump in.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Product-Led Revenue. I'm Breezy Beaumont. This episode is brought to you by Correlated, a customer expansion platform for B2B software companies that focus on product-led growth. Today, our guest is David Rostan, co-founder and head of revenue at Stonely, and also previously the VP of sales and marketing at Calendly. David, thanks for joining me today.
My pleasure.
All right, so to give our audience some background on yourself, can you tell us about your role at Stonely and also your role previously over at Calendly?
Yeah, definitely. And thanks for having me and giving me a chance to talk about this stuff, and hopefully people learn a lot from it. As you mentioned, I'm a co-founder at Stonely. Stonely is a platform for self-serve guidance inside your product and for support, really kind of anywhere it matters most in the customer journey. And what our product is enabling is not only personalized adaptive guidance, but it establishes self-serve guidance as the way to offer premier user onboarding and product support. And here, I'm building the go-to-market teams. We have a mix of low funnel acquisition, demand, product-led growth, as well as self-serve and high-touch land and expand motions. And before coming on here as a co-founder, I was the VP of sales and marketing for Calendly, which everyone in the product-led space is certainly familiar with, probably as a customer, but certainly as a benchmark for the absolute top tier product-led growth model.
Awesome. All right, so working in order of the timeline here, let's first jump into Calendly a bit, and then we'll definitely leave a bunch of time for Stonely as well. So, I think we both know the role of sales and marketing is vastly different in a product-led company. There are definitely similarities, but a lot of differences. So, what were your main focuses at Calendly, and how did you see that role over there?
Yeah, so I think probably just to call them out, product marketing and product qualified leads were two of the main things. And how I thought that through was, at Calendly and probably at any company that doesn't just have a product led component, but is really singularly grown by a product led growth machine. We focused on the product marketing and how to provide the right go-to-market service level to the users as our product acquired them. So product marketing was aimed at making sure that the right people understood our solutions and benefits and saw how those applied to them really quickly when they were brought into our product. And over on the sales side, it was finding the people in all of that volume who would be, I guess, disproportionately successful for us and for them if we connected on a sales call and routed them to the right experience. So that's where the product qualified leads came in.
And what was the size of the sales and marketing org over at Calendly while you were there?
And so the marketing org was something in the order of 5, 6 people, and the sales team was went from 3 to about 10 over my time there.
And did you also have any business development reps? Just out of curiosity, I know people are always thinking about how to set up their teams in the different types of roles that they have. And in traditional software companies, right, we have BDRs or an SDR team or both. We have our sales reps. And obviously, even before that, we have all our various marketing functions. But curious what your setup was.
Yeah, we actually didn't have BDRs or SDRs there. We kind of divided it up into 4 main areas we worked. So we had product qualified leads, which we worked with automated cadences, and then salespeople could interrupt that and work them. But those were all worked by one set of AEs. Then we had inbound demos. Then we had outbound demos to target accounts, and then we had expansion sales, which was pretty similar to our PQL, uh, but it was just kind of after the sale. And then we peeled off the self-serve people and tried to give things like group demos and self-serve experiences to handle the volume, but also to give people the service level if that was what they would thrive under. And that was part of our product marketing organization.
Got it. Let's dive in a little bit into that PQL scoring. So I'm curious, what are some of the things that you put into your PQL scoring? Whether there are various levels of scores that people could have, or what did that look like?
And so I guess the first thing we did was we liked to look at the things we thought our most successful companies and customers were doing, and then we built a pretty good homegrown system to input those definitions and communicate to those people, and then track those campaigns so we could figure it out. It wasn't easy to build by any means, but once we had it, we were able to trial and error our way into those definitions that work best. And you mentioned before when we spoke earlier, I think you called it something like Goldilocksing our way into it, and that's really what we did. But we couldn't even do that without a system to be able to say it, try it, and see if it was too hard or too soft, right? So we did that first, and then I think what we were testing for was volume, first of all. We couldn't serve too many people at once, but we also needed a good volume of demos to both test and to fuel our growth. Um, yeah, and then the other thing we were testing was probably fit. That is, whether applying sales would actually make you more successful. And that's a part we didn't know yet from our data on the success indicators. Was yes, these things indicate you'll be successful, but more successful if we apply people and the sales process to you. That was kind of what we were trying to answer. Um, and those definitions, they went all over the place. Everything from um, you created a second and a third event type. So I want to get on the phone with you because you're clearly using it for multiple types of scheduling, or you invited a team member. So those kinds of things. And then I was like, whoa, lots of people invite a team member. Maybe you invited 3 team members, and then we just like you said, kind of Goldilocks our way into it.
Yeah, I'm curious what other things that you all tested along the way. You mentioned a few, inviting team members, but um, just out of curiosity, what were some of the different things that you guys were testing to see, where's that point of value, or where are those aha moments for that end user, that might be a good opportunity for you to reach out. So knowing the success of others, what is that aha moment that you'd want to reach out in, for newer folks?
Yeah. So Um, I think that we didn't just try to test aha moment, but we tried to pick up on are you kind of looking around our aha moments? So people who in the app started to hit paywalls, like did you or get near our paywalls? Did you look at our Salesforce integration? Did you look at our Zapier integration? Did you successfully book an event? And did you hit some pretty rapid event scheduling uh, benchmarks? So it's not just you scheduled one, that's probably a test you sent to yourself, but you scheduled 14. hmm, Then you might be a salesperson, that kind of volume of indicator. And that's what we were looking for. Those people who would be disproportionately successful, but also may have those higher order, like I'm not successful as a busy scheduler. I'm successful as somebody who owns busy scheduling of a sales team. And so that's what we were looking for, indicators that would point us to those.
Yeah. Okay, that makes a ton of sense. In that PQL scoring, was there a layering of firmographic or demographic data? Maybe something that you had thought of as an ICP in there. Was there that additional layering, or was it strictly based on product actions?
We didn't really layer in and augment our data with firmographic. We found just for us, there's just so much volume, and it was really hard to augment that much volume. Um, so we did mostly product, but we also did layer in, I guess, what I would consider our progressive profiling. So you used a business email, you used an EDU email, then we would kind of run some education, institutional education plays. You chose in our onboarding or later on that you were a sales user. Um, and then I think that probably some of the things we were scratching the surface on, but didn't quite fully implement yet, were things like we could read the content, right? Not like me reading it, but like our database could know the content and could know that your test event said demo call. We didn't get to that stage, but I guess that could have been some sort of an indicator. Read the content people were creating, since creating events is a type of content we could have read. And then we also used post conversion signals probably as well. So and what we were looking for is just, are you a good candidate for expansion? Are you a good candidate for help to reach your full potential? We didn't want, what we were really trying to do is prevent customers and prospects from under self-serving.
Got it. Did you also additionally have like a more sales-led approach in any of your sellers? So was it strictly working within users who had already created an account, or was there an additional sort of outbound motion?
When I arrived, it was all inbound, and it was all inbound demo requests. And then the next thing we layered in was the PQL model. So people who were kind of flying under our radar, we were missing you, and because you were never reaching out to us, we started to reach out to you because we knew you, and we knew we could help you. And then that final layer that we added in, and we were building out even more, was that outbound. So starting to recognize, hey, out there are people who aren't yet coming to us and either trying us out or scheduling a demo, but we know if they did, we could make them successful. So we did start to build an outbound motion around target accounts.
Very cool. I'm curious, starting to wrap up here on the Calendly front, but what were some of the tools that the team was using on the sales side?
Well, certainly and primarily, I would say Calendly itself, but we stitched together Calendly, Woofu for forms, Salesforce. We use Braze for our emails, and we combined kind of the segment and heap tools to really get a good view of product activity and the success tracking. And we didn't even have RevOps for most of the time, at least as a specific role. It was just some really talented technical people on the team giving the extra effort to bring it all to life and stitch it all together.
That's actually pretty incredible, honestly. I've heard of other teams either, of course, having that RevOps role, or really having an entire data team just to support this aspect of it. So, curious to see where that goes in the future for the team. But and before we move over to Stonely, last thing I just wanted to touch on was pricing. Everyone is always curious at every size of company, how to do pricing. Should we do usage-based pricing, seats-based pricing? And I'm curious what you were doing over at Calendly and how you work that in with your product-led model as well.
Yeah, so the freemium model, probably more so than the free trial model. There were both of them, but the freemium model was really a huge growth driver at Calendly. You can get a ton of value out of Calendly's free product, which is great because you get value from scheduling meetings, and Calendly's virality improves the more meetings you schedule. So that was just a perfect alignment. And eventually, if you do see enough value, the right users hit paywalls, and by that time, they gladly pay for it. So we spent a lot of time building out customer marketing to try to run people into those paywalls at the right times with the right messaging and the right kind of value proposition for them.
Virality is such an interesting part of these products. I don't know, it especially intrigues me. I've heard others refer to it as network effects or virality. But either way, I mean, obviously, that not only it allowing people to self-serve and get started with the product, but also having that ability for it to grow within a network or be viral in that way
Yeah.
is an incredible growth asset.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that it's really smart for businesses who have some component like that to think about, well, a customer can contribute value to our business, not just by giving us dollars, but by other things. And for Calendly, book a meeting, you win, Calendly wins because another person definitionally has now heard about Calendly.
Very cool. So let's jump over to Stonely now. What's the sales team look like there? And do you have a self-serve product process, or how's that looking today?
Yeah, so at Stonely, we have both sales and customer success team members taking initial demos and reaching out to new users who haven't yet chosen to schedule demos to try to make them successful. Our selling motion is a success motion where we try to understand your goals and help you get started accomplishing them with our solutions right away. So we give you full access to a 2-week full free trial, and that's what you buy at the end of that trial is that success that you were able to observe or can clearly see that you're going to attain. But clearly, our self-serve motion is incredibly important here because one, that's what our platform does. We are a platform for self-serve, and two, so Stonely makes the self-serve path more appealing and successful than even human-powered guidance. So by using our own platform to welcome, to onboard, to guide, to support users throughout their journey, we not only make them more successful, but we have the added advantage of getting to show off our own product.
Yeah, definitely a win-win there to be able to dog food your own product too.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, when you think about hiring other folks on the team, I know you said there's a level of sales folks involved and customer success folks. Um, the idea of a sales team in a product-led or self-serve company is definitely different than what would be in a sales-led company. How do you think about hiring for that role? And are you, going about it in more of a non-traditional hiring way? Are you looking for past experience there, or how do you think about that?
I think what we're looking for is good solutions sellers. So you'll find us learning a lot about customers and really getting to know their pain points, their use cases, and try to discover what those are. And then we're trying to help them be successful at that thing. And a lot of times that's knowing the surrounding area, right? So, oh, you're looking to really turbocharge your self-serve support. Well, I can help with that, not only by implementing our product, but I've I've helped 200 companies do that, so I'm going to lift you. So I think it's I think it's a lot of that. It's really you've got to be a product and solutions expert and a customer pain point and jobs to be done expert, and then you bring those together. So I think that we're not necessarily looking for anything other than great salespeople. It's just a must-have. Like you can't phone it in. You've got to deeply care about customer and product here.
Yeah, I've heard the phrase consultative sales being tossed around a lot lately. And I think this was, predates the PLG movement, just helping your customers to be successful. But on that topic, I mean, what do you see as, there's an argument being made that CS, customer success, and sales teams are starting to converge a bit. And as salespeople become more like customer success folks, and some customer success folks are owning an expansion quota, which is sometimes a sales motion. So I'm curious what your thought is on those converging sort of going forward.
Yeah. I think that there are businesses that are now starting to successfully converge them. And I think that there's good reason, like situations like ours where you'll buy it if you see success. And you know what? You can see success inside of our trial, no problem, like real live success, meeting and hitting your goals. So it makes all the sense in the world to have somebody on your calls who's saying, "Yeah, I don't need to show you our logo bar. I need to hear about your pain point because in these 2 weeks, I'll tell you what, I'm going to solve them." Right. So we need somebody with that mentality. I would um, I would say though that that doesn't mean that they're going to be replaced. I don't think that customer success is going to eat sales because sales is just hugely important. And man, what a skill! Um, you never know about a person until you try to take a dollar from them for your product, and they give you a hesitation, and you can respond with an urgency, a real one, not like a made up, oh, if you buy now, there's a discount, not that, but like just an awareness of how important it is to solve these problems. That DNA is also equally important, I find. So I definitely think that one isn't merging into the other, but they're overlapping and cooperating and feeding off of each other. And I think that's probably a really powerful thing.
Yeah, I'd be curious your advice for product led companies. When should they introduce that top down sales motion into their process? Is there a point at which you see a good time to introduce top down selling in addition to, selling to users who are also using your platform? Is there kind of a clicking point for you there?
I think that it's very business dependent. So when we thought about it, we tried to think about where do we want to grow in what time period, and then we said, okay, what are the channels we're going to bring people in really quickly and at what rough selling price? Okay, so we tried to scale that up, and honestly, the first trial, our first effort at bringing in substantial, real, deliberate volume, we were wrong about what it would look like and how we would do it. So then we tried another thing and that worked. So then we tried to pour resources into that thing and that worked. Okay. So we had something going and said, that's working. Now, can we double that? Can we triple that? Can we 10x that? And then the answer is, well, maybe triple it in a time frame, but we to 10x we need new layers, and it's when you start to see those new layers, we need new layers of growth. So now we're talking about going into the world of people who might not be bottoms up but might be a little more tops down, a lot more having to sell the pain before you sell your solution. And I think that's actually a point we're in right now, is having the opportunity to layer in those other types. So that's kind of how we felt it out. And there could easily be businesses whose answer is, you know what, no, we're only doing the one and we're going to be the best on the planet at the one. And I think, that's a legitimate business strategy, sales strategy, growth strategy as well. We just saw an opportunity, in our case, to be good at several really key ones.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm going to dive a little bit into some of the data that you and the team are looking at today. So, I know your team has some access to how people are using your product today. And, hopefully the team over here at Correlated, we can help you to expand on that. But as you start to plan this out a little bit more, what's your thinking around what signals would be important for your team to be taking action on?
I think that the first thing that we look for is that you're a business or an organization, versus an individual. Even though probably we have some use cases for individuals, we also need to realize that more and more of those businesses sneak through our front door using Gmail accounts. So we don't want to just completely shut down the opportunity for them. And a lot of people will try us in a personal setting. But hey, turns out you are also working in a business that where we could be relevant. So business is first. Then we want to find signals that if we apply sales and success teams, it will not only help you out, but it'll drive your demand for our product. And to do that, we need to know things. We need to know your use case. So that's one of the first signals that we collect and pay attention to. We collect that actually in a Stonely guide as our welcome onboarding guide. Um, we also look for how ready you are to be successful. Is this a now thing, or are you just checking out the space? And so we can kind of put together some baskets of day zero activities to start to see if you're kicking the tires all around the space, or you go a little bit deep into some of them. I think that it's a really important thing that we do is we probably not only do we flag people as PQLs, but we also want indicators and alerts while a prospect or a new customer is in our sales or success pipeline. So we want to know when they do important things so we can reach out with something relevant to say. So to that end, we like indicators, things like, hey, the person you did a demo for 2 days ago started their trial today. The person who used to be asleep in your pipeline now did a basket of engagement indicators. The Some key account, their trial is about to end. It's a good time to reach out and explain the value of our plans. Things like that, I think, are what we want to pay attention to.
Very cool. Are there some tools that the team is using today to kick these off, or is it mostly based inside of your own product?
Uh, we we use Slack notifications primarily. They mention the owner, and the owner then goes out and does whatever kind of outreach is necessary. Um, and I think that's kind of how we build it, right? We start with indicators, and then even if we could automate some things, we don't necessarily. So get an indicator, and then what do you do with it? Well, are you ignoring it? Oh, that indicator? I ignore it. Well, we don't even need to be alerting you, right? Okay, what indicators do you love to see when they pop up with your name beside them in Slack? These three. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. What do you say when you get one of those indicators? This, and this. All right. Any of them working really well? And then once we know that, we can start to build out some tooling to instrument those things more consistently, more quickly, plugged more into our data. But for now, we're kind of at the phase where we don't mind it being a bit manual. Flag me the stuff, and I'll see, what am I doing with it, and to what degree of success before we build out a solid play.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How are you all thinking about pricing? Are you going to be headed down the famous usage-based pricing model? What is your idea for maybe where you are today, but what you're thinking about going down the line also?
Yeah, so I think that our when people think about pricing, they study a lot of different things, willingness to pay, which things make people go from one tier to the other. So I think that uh, we will continue to evolve our pricing and packaging structure, particularly opening up more higher end plans, because we find that we can deliver a known just tremendous amount of value to a lot of customer types, but our pricing doesn't always scale to reflect that. So I think we'll probably do that study. But one thing that we did really well and have gotten right so far is that usage-based pricing. So we're definitely land and expand, and our pricing is really aligned with customer value. So the more our customers guide their users to success with placements and onboarding, helping their users discover new features, helping their users learn how to accomplish advanced things, helping customers and users with support and troubleshooting. So the more they do that with our self-serve guides, the larger their plan tier grows. So we really grow right along with their success, and that's how we try to price. We also do have a license aspect to our pricing, and as a piece of it for either editors or internal training use cases. And probably lastly, we do have a free plan, but it's not like Calendly where it's meant to be a viable long-term solution. It's more, now, most of the customers we attract who will see a lot of value from our platform are pretty happy to pay right away at the end of the trial. And then our free plan is meant more to save all your work so you can come back to it intact when you are ready. So it really just takes the risk out of investing some of your time into the trial.
Very cool. I think, you guys have really thought through a lot of the different use cases and obviously, thinking about the user throughout that entire process of your pricing, which I think is such an important piece of it. And before we, come to the end of this session, I just wanted to give you a chance and open up the floor a little bit to talk about the product-led movement, anything we might have missed on the call, or any thoughts you just wanted to share there.
And I think that we touched a lot of things that I've had a lot of fun learning from other people and organizations, a lot of fun learning from discussions like this and listening to other people have discussions like this. And I think maybe one thing that I would either add to the conversation or pile on where others have added to the conversation is just thinking about how we've got to always remember that that product led is still really customer focused, and I think that where I've been really successful and where my teams have been really successful is absolutely have to know your product. You need to know and to find ways to know your customer and how your solution applies to them more and more and more every day. At Calendly, we all used the product, so that helped us understand. But at Stonely, we really use it. We use the product the same as our customers use it and our use cases use it. And that's irreplaceable. And one step further to that is that our customer success team, our product managers, our head of growth, and I have conducted hundreds of real live sales demos where we do what I was mentioning before, trying to take a dollar for the thing and the solution we sell. And just nothing has ever taught me as much about a customer as doing that.
Very cool. Well, I think we're coming up on our time and I really appreciated your thoughts today. But where should people go to learn more about you and to learn more about Stonely?
So Stonely is stonely.com. You can go check it out. You can poke around and start a free trial really easily and simply and actually get something live pretty quickly. And I'd be happy to talk with anybody about product led growth and certainly about Stonely and our solutions. I'm David at stonely.com. People can reach out.
Awesome. Well, David, thanks again. I really appreciate you spending some time with us today. And it was great having you on Product Led Revenue.
It was a pleasure being here, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Product Led Revenue. This show is brought to you by Correlated, the first platform built for product led revenue. If you enjoyed what you learned in this episode, make sure to follow the Product Led Revenue podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or visit getcorrelated.com/podcast to get access to all of the latest episodes.